Okay, so you've just watched WSIB Stories and Anthony's story. We saw that Anthony worked as a press brake operator. What I'd now like to show you is how our job transition AI software could be used to help find a new job for Anthony. You remember that Anthony had a bad knee injury, and that led to him moving from a job as a press brake operator and working with Sharon, the work transition specialist at WSIB. He was transitioned to a new job as a cardiology technologist. Perhaps not the most obvious of choices. So let's have a look. If we enter Anthony's original job title as a press brake operator, and then search, the software quickly finds that press brake operator comes under the National Occupational Classification Code for Canada of 9416.1. The category is metal working machine operators. If we want to check that, we can click on this here, NOC link, which takes us to the Canadian National Occupational Classification. And here we have in the classification the job title with a brief explanation there, some example titles, and you can see power press operator is one of them, metal fabrication. This gives us the full list of titles, and then there we can see press brake operator is one of these job titles that Anthony was doing. So we'll just go back now to our NOC career handbook. Now another function that we have is the neighbour link. With the neighbour link, if we click, we find that what we get is a list of job titles which shows us the jobs that are most similar to the original job, the target job of metalworking machine operator. Here we list the number of attributes that are required to do the job. Attributes are things such as the aptitudes required to do the job, the physical activities, and the education and training that somebody requires. We search on 16 of these attributes, so the target job has all 16, and then these jobs, there are 3 with 15 and 4 with 14 similar attributes. Those that are different are listed here, and if we want to go and look at those jobs in the Canadian National Occupational Classification, we can click the NOC links there as previously. The attributes that exist for metalworking machine operator are listed here under the aptitudes: general learning ability, verbal ability, numerical, spatial perception, form perception, clerical, motor coordination, finger dexterity, and manual dexterity. Physical activities that are fairly self-explanatory, and the education and training required for a job. So education and training is classified in the Canadian Career Handbook. If we click these instruction links, they tell us about these various activities. So if I click this one, this takes us to the Career Handbook, and for the general aptitudes, it tells us that 1, 2, 3, and 4 represents where somebody scores in relation to the working population on each of these categories. For the physical activities, these are categorized differently, so vision is explained there, and body position here, along with strength at the bottom. So 1 is limited strength, 4 requires heavy. So the work activities require handling loads more than 20 kilograms, and gives examples there. we go back to our list, and if we look at this list, we could discuss other alternatives with Anthony. However, we may want a wider range of alternatives. To do this, we can change the number of attributes. If we take this number of attributes down to 6 and search, software is now looking through over 30,000 job titles that are within the Canadian National Occupational Classification, and it's looking for ranking these attributes. So it's doing a lot of work during this time. Here we have a list, and this is a rather longer list because we've asked it to list every job that has more than 7 different attributes. So we can see lots of jobs there to discuss with Anthony as to whether these are jobs that may be of interest to him. Now we know that he was in a job title of a cardiology technologist, so I can search for that, and I happen to know that the job code for that is 3217, but I could just type in cardiology, and there we go, 3217.1 cardiology technologists, and we can see that there are more than 7 attributes there, and this tells us in which way they differ. So the verbal ability, numerical ability, form perception, motor coordination, finger dexterity, hearing, body position, strength, and education and training are different from those of a metalworking operator, which Anthony was originally doing. We know from the video that Sharon engaged a psychologist. The psychologist undertook aptitude testing and also an IQ test. So that aptitude testing would test the verbal ability, numerical ability, form perception, and also the IQ, so the educability for Anthony. Using that information from this list of jobs, we can help choose an appropriate job for Anthony, and they settled on cardiology technologist. If we note the job number 321.7, I will search it again. There we are. I'll highlight the job code and copy it. Here we have another section called Compare. If I click on the Compare link, this now has our code for the metalworking operator, and we can compare it with another code. If I paste here the code for the cardiology technician and click, we now have the two aligned up side by side to make for an easier comparison of the differences in the aptitudes. So of any of those jobs, if they were of interest to Anthony, we could perform a similar comparison and discuss what might be necessary in order to transition Anthony into that job, whether it would take further training in skills or whether the physical abilities matched or not. We can see that a cardiology technologist has a lower strength requirement than a metalworking or machine operator, for instance. And the body positions are also different between the two, which may be relevant to Anthony's choice of this job. So if we go back again to the metalworking machine operator, another function that we have is, supposing we know that Anthony's strength has been changed by the injury he received, so that his strength now is no longer 3 and it is much less, let's say 1. And perhaps the body position that he can sustain is not multiple body positions, but perhaps only sitting, so we'll change that to 1. We leave the other things the same and we can search again. We reduce the number of attributes, let's reduce it to 6. And again, we're searching through all the jobs, but this time having changed the physical activity attributes. And here we have, again, a picking list of jobs, but this time having taken account of some of the physical difficulties that Anthony may be having. And that gives us, again, another list of jobs that could be discussed with Anthony in terms of his physical ability and the aptitudes that would have been arrived at through psychology testing. So I hope you can see how useful this software can be in making job transition discussions. Thank you.